for the that we already going through are the Khulafa Rashidin, who are Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, and Hassan. Right, it's already five, it's not necessarily four. Okay, but the reign of Hassan was like about 6 months. So usually is not mentioned amongst the Khulafa because the real significant thing that happened during his caliphate was the uniting of the Muslims under Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So this is for the Rashidun Caliphate by many Orientalists. And basically it was a period of a lot of expansion. Right? The Muslim empire expanded from east to west, from as far as China, the borders of China, until Morocco. Spain, that happened after the temple of our right, around 711. So that happened during the Umayyad period. But in terms of the expansion from around Morocco to almost China, to east to west, basically, that happened during that time. And a lot of historians say that that is the fastest an empire ever, like a landlocked empire or a landlocked empire ever reached in such a very short space of time. Okay, because the Khulafa Rashidin was like about around 2 years, and they were able to reach what was to us. Right? The Mongols took a little bit more time than that. Okay? The Mongols took a little bit more time than that, and we will look at the Mongols when we reach in the Abbasid Empire. So it was a period of great expansion for the Muslims. The conquering of 2 empires, but not the total conquering of one particular one. But the conquering of the Persian Empire, which existed for what we would call now years, for 5,000 years. The Persians were there while the Greeks were there. The Persians were there while the Romans were there. The Persians were in there and the Egyptians were around as well. So Persia was there for a long time. And the Muslims dispatched them. Right? As for the Roman Empire, as I told you, before that time, the Western Roman Empire fell already around the year 485. So now you have the Eastern Roman Empire, which is also called the Byzantine Empire, but it's better to call it the Roman Empire. So you have the Eastern Roman Empire, which still ruled Turkey. The capital of it was Constantinople. So that means the Eastern Roman Empire survived until the year 1450. So the Roman Empire was there for like over possibly around 2,000 years. Right? So, but around during that time, the Khulafa Rashidin, a lot of the Roman Empire, including Jerusalem, was taken from the Roman Empire, who are called by historians the Byzantine Empire. Right? So let's go. I tell you what it is, I'm saying it's okay. Right. So you have Abu Bakr Siddiq. As you see, his reign is extremely short. 2 years. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam died in the year 11 of the Hijrah. And his reign is from the year 11 of the Hijrah to the year 13 of the Hijrah. So his reign is extremely short. And just to clarify, the sources I'm taking from is from Tariq al-Khulafa by As-Suyuti mainly, and also from Bidayah wa Nihaya. You can hear another books as well. Right? So Abu Bakr Siddiq, his caliphate was extremely short. Right? So his name is Abdullah ibn Abi Quhafa. Abi Quhafa is his father. Right? And himself and the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam have a similar ancestor named Murrah ibn Ka'b. So they meet with Murrah ibn Ka'b. And that was the 7th ancestor of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Abu Bakr. As-Siddiq is like an appellation for him. Right? He was the first to believe in the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he held unto truthfulness, especially when everyone else disbelieved in the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding al-Isra and Mi'raj. So, this is why he was called as-Siddiq. Some ulama say that he was known for that, he was known for his truthfulness in Jahiliyyah as well. But he was particularly known as as-Siddiq. He was called by that by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made that night journey to Jerusalem and then went to the heavens, the Quraysh said, you know, that's a bunch of fairy tales, it's a pack of nonsense. And they went to Abu Bakr Siddiq and they said, you actually believe that? He said, well, if the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said it, then I believe it. Now the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was able to tell them what was happening around the Levant, around Sham, and that who was bringing trading caravans, etc. They say that this has to be magic, but as Siddiq, Abu Bakr Siddiq, he believed it, and this is why he was called as-Siddiq. His other appellation is al-Atiq because he is free from the hellfire. As he is one of those who are Mubashirun, who was the Inca tidings of Jannah. Another reason why he is called al-Atiq as well is because he had a beautiful countenance. He had a beautiful, he was very handsome man as well. Okay? He was born 2 years and a month after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so they were very close in age. Right? They were extremely close in age. Right? Unlike the case of Umar ibn Khattab, who was a bit younger than the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but he and the Prophet were very close in age, and he died at age 63, the same year that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the same age that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam died. Now, this is the whole thing about it. Umar, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Abu Bakr Siddiq, Umar ibn Khattab, and Ali, all that 63 years old. All that 63. In the case of Uthman, he died at almost 90 years old. Wow. Yeah, he was pretty old. Right? So, he was known in Makkah. Now, this is something that you have to look at. He was known in Makkah for his truthfulness, manners, hospitality, charity, humility, etc. He was known to have clean character, extremely good character, even in Jahiliyyah. And he never drank alcohol in his life. But the Arabs were very, skillful alcoholic drinkers. Right? In fact, they had a poet who wrote 100 lines describing a glass of alcohol. 100 lines. Okay? And so he never drank alcohol. That was from his monarchy. That's from the goodness of the Jahiliyyah. And they never had worship idols. I never worshiped idols. He never worshiped idols before he became Muslim. Right? And I was like the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as well. He never worshipped an idol. Okay? So you see that Abu Bakr Siddiq was upon the fitra. He was upon the natural state before Islam came to him. So when Islam came to him, it was like a big jump for him. Understood? As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Khiyarukum fil Jahiliyyah, khiyarukum fil Islam." And the best of you in Jahiliyyah is the best of you in Islam. And the best of you, who has the best character, best morality, etc. in Jahiliyyah, they will be the best in Islam because they don't have much to change. Right? And this was the case of Abu Bakr Siddiq, this was the case of Uthman ibn Affan, although it wouldn't be the case all the time, because Umar ibn Khattab was known for a very strong and relentless character in Jahiliyyah. You know, he was a very strict and very serious character. He used to drink, he used to worship idols, and he was a man of war in Jahiliyyah, but he became the second best Muslim after Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So that rule doesn't apply at all times, because a person might be in Jahiliyyah but might take the best traits of the Jahiliyyah and bring it into Al-Islam, or the best traits of what he was in Jahiliyyah and bring it into his Islam. And in the case of Umar ibn Khattab, it was his firmness, it was his strength, it was his power. Right? But in many cases, you find that if a person didn't really have a past, it would be easier for him to just fall in. Right? In many cases. And you will find this several times. You'll find this several times with a lot of people. Like people who it is that they were into religion before they became Muslim. When they became Muslim, it wasn't really a problem. But sometimes when people were involved in all kind of things before they were Muslim, to take off these things, when they become Muslim, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort of their part. Okay? And for them, they have a lot of ajr, they have a lot of blessings in that. As I told somebody, Islam is not difficult, but it's because people don't necessarily follow the moral codes of their own religion. It makes it difficult for them to leave off the desires and the nonsense that they used to do in Jahiliyyah. And that's the fact. Now? Alright, next slide. Now, I might be able to finish all of Abu Bakr in this session, as you will see, right? But I think I finished most of it at least. If I could finish all of it, alhamdulillah. So, the virtues of Abu Bakr. Well, the companions agreed that he was the best of the companions. Right? He used to be closest to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he was the most loved to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Number two, he would be called into all the laws of Jannah, and there's a hadith in Bukhari regarding that. In the bab of salah, the law of salah, the law of fasting, the law of jihad, etc. And then Abu Bakr was asked, well, which law would I be called to? And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said it is possible that we could be called to all the laws. Because in terms of charity, everything, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was a precedent in terms of salah, fasting, giving charity, etc. Giving his one piece of millah, bravery, battlefield, you name it, Abu Bakr was precedent in it. Number three, there's a hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that if it is that I was to take a Khalil in an extremely close companion, right, who was also like Al-Khullah is a special one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us in money. Like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took Ibrahim as a Khalil, as well as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as a Khalil. He would have taken Abu Bakr as a Khalil. That hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. Next one, he was the first of the 10 to be promised paradise. Right? There's a famous hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned the 10, and the first was Abu Bakr. And he also mentioned the other Khulafa al-Rashidin. Next one, he was the void of pride. So, this is related to one it is that Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he spoke about the one who drags his garment below his ankles. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq used to always try to pull up his garments, and he asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam regarding this, and he said that, oh Abu Bakr, you do not have any pride. SubhanAllah. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that. And the next one he was mentioned in the Quran, the companion in the cave, and it is that they were fleeing from the Mushrikeen to the Hijrata Medina. إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إنه ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا. Right? So the two who were in the cave, when one said to his companion, at Sahibihi, it refers to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And the one who was saying was the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. La tahzan inna Allah ma'ana. don't be worried. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. So these are like a little bit of the virtues of Abu Bakr Siddiq. There are plenty more. He was the first to become Muslim. He made film, certain behind certain trust, etc. Have plenty of virtues of Abu Bakr Siddiq. Plenty. Right? So it's very strange that there are people, the Prophet Shia, who come and they speak ill of Abu Bakr Siddiq and say that he's a Caliphate. This is within their books. So we can't have any unity with them. No matter how much they say we could destroy even this, it has no unity with them. If you hit Abu Bakr Siddiq, who was close to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and it didn't unity. Right? Because he was Muslim, he loved. In fact, there's a hadith with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, which men are most beloved to you? And he said, Abu Bakr Siddiq. Right? Abu Bakr Siddiq. This is all serious. So, if a person hates who the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam loves, I don't have to do nothing. Alright? So, that which indicated the Khilafah of Abu Bakr. Now, this is an important point. Why putting this? Again, the Prophet Shia say, well, Abu Bakr Siddiq, or Abu Bakr. Alright? And they name Abu Bakr and Umar Salman Quraysh, the two idols of the Quraysh. They would say that when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't say that to Khalifa. So Abu Bakr had no right to be the Khalifa, it was Ali. So we tell them. So although the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam didn't indicate a successor by name, there are some evidences which demonstrate that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq who would be the Khalifa. Number one, the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam when he said following two after me, اقتدوا بالذين بعدي Abu Bakr and Umar. Following two after me, Abu Bakr and Umar. That's one. Number two, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ordered Abu Bakr to lead the Muslims in prayer for 8 days when he was in the sickness which led to his death. So for 8 days, and he told Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha to make sure that he leads the Muslims in Salah. To make sure that Abu Bakr leads the Muslims in Salah, and Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said that verily my father is a rajul asleep. He cries about when it is that he is in the Salah. And then the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told her repeatedly to make sure that he leads the Salah. A third thing is that Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu was known as the best from among the companions. He was known, all the companions knew that he was the best amongst them. So a lot of them, they had no doubt that if a Khalifa was to be named, then they would put him ahead. Number four, that the companions radiallahu ta'ala anhu agreed on the Khilafah of Abu Bakr. So that shows that he's supposed to be Khalifa. All the companions agreed, including Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. That he's supposed to be Khalifa. Because the ijma', or when it is that the ummah, they agree upon something, there's no way to be false. Especially if it is the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Alright. So, any questions so far? So next one. Right. So the Khilafah of Abu Bakr. Alright. So we're going through a few things here. Number one, after the death of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his burial. Now, we have to look at the death of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. How it is that the Ummah was saddened. That is the worst day that ever happened to the Ummah, happened to this Ummah, the death of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So you can imagine how the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum were feeling when it is that he actually died. and they realized that he died. In fact, the point that Umar ibn Khattab was stroking his son and saying, anybody who says that he died, I'm going to take him prisoner. Because he was so passionate for his love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a great leader, a great man who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent with guidance, and they followed him and they loved him and they ate with him and they drank with him, and now he's gone. So when it is that upon his death, as we know, Umar ibn Khattab was a bit disturbed. And Abu Bakr Siddiq, he stood up and he said that whosoever he wishes Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then verily Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has died. And whosoever he wishes Allah, then Allah is Hayyun la yamut. Is ever living and never dies. In other words, our religion is not just based upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his personality and who he is, but rather it is to follow the guidance that was sent to him. And then he quoted the ayah, وَمَا مُحَمَّدٌ إِلَّا رَسُولٌ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ الرُّسُلُ أَفَإِنْ مَاتَ أَوْ قُتِلَ انقَلَبْتُمْ عَلَىٰ أَعْقَابِكُمْ. That Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is only a messenger, and messengers have come before him. If it is that he dies or he is killed, will be turned away on your heels, and you will see that there are some people who turn away on their heels after all that, right? So what happened is that the first mas'ala, or the first issue that the Sahaba had ijma regarding, or they had agreement regarding, was that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died. And then the second issue was where to bury him, and they agreed to bury him where it is that he died, which was the house of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala. So after his death and his burial, the Muhajirun and the Ansar pledged allegiance to Abu Bakr Siddiq after Amina his speech. Now what the Shia do is that they make tafkhimuna, right? They make tafkhim. In other words, they make the issue bigger than it is. Now what happened is that after the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died, some of the Ansar, they went into a place and they called it Caliphate. And what happened? They elected a leader from themselves. And Umar ibn Khattab, Abu Bakr, As-Siddiq, and also Abu Ubaidah, they went to that particular tent. And a person who was talking on behalf of the Ansar, he was saying that we have certain virtues, etc., etc. And that's paraphrasing the hadith for you, or the after for you. And what occurred now is that Abu Bakr Siddiq, he stood firm on his sunnah. He said, look, that this issue, or this issue of leadership is with the Quraysh. So in other words, when he said that one of the conditions for leadership of the Muslims or Roman in general is that he has to be Quraysh. So Abu Bakr Siddiq stuck to that. So when it is that they heard that, the Ansar heard that, they took it easy. Because none of them were from the Quraysh, none of them. And then what it is that he did, he nominated Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah and Umar ibn Khattab for the Khilafah. He didn't want it. He didn't want it. And he said, look, put your hand forward. He said, select one of these two. Right? Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, who's published then that, and also Umar ibn Khattab. So he was basically putting himself away from that responsibility. So it's not like Abu Bakr Siddiq was running after any kind of leadership. And afterwards, they both refused. They said, no. If Abu Bakr is here, I'm not going forward with him. Because they knew how much the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They knew how much he was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They knew about his virtues. So there was no way you were going to get Umar ibn Khattab or Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah to go in front of Abu Bakr Siddiq. So then they put forward and they pledged allegiance to him. Alright? They pledged allegiance to him, and that temple is called the I am a Sahifa. And then afterward, they made the general pledge of allegiance in the masjid with the rest of the companions with the Ejma'in. And he made this famous speech that I am not the best of you, and that if it is that you see me falling short, then make me strong, etc. Right? A speech which the leader of ISIS, and we tried to make this, it's Abu Bakr as well, he tried to, borrow. I don't know, people who did Abu Bakr should behave like we did Abu Bakr, it should be in charge, not grand charge. But anyway, yeah. Right? But apparently a lot of people who name Abu Bakr, they think that they are the Khalifa, so they are not. Right? This Caliph, you will see a lot of his character, and it is that you see how it is that he acted during his Khilafah. So he made his particular speech, and now it was really on to business. So this was after a little bit of dispute. Now, why this happened to the companions? This is from the qadar of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us Muslims how to deal with disputes. Understand? The companions were men, radiallahu ta'ala anhum. The companions were men. They were better than us, for sure, but they were men as well. And they might have different points of view. But when it is that we have different points of view, what do? We go back to the book of Allah, and we go back to the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as Abu Bakr said. He said that this issue needs to be correct. And it's from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And every man that is submitted. And this is how we're supposed to deal with disputes amongst each other. But what happened is that the Shia had tried to make back and said, well, look, they did not have to be killed. No, this is not simple. Let us dispute. And it's a disagreement into some points of view. And afterwards, the Muslims were united. Alhamdulillah. Right? No need to be hypocrite out of it. Like if it is, for example, a husband and wife have a disagreement, is it for anybody to go out in the streets and say, hey, no, that's the first problems. It doesn't make any sense. You have a disagreement, you solve it according to the book of the Sunnah, and halas, it's done. Right? So the events of Abu Bakr's Caliphate. Alright, so there were some events, but the three main events were, well, not three, but there were a few, right? But the main events were putting forth soldiers led by the 17-year-old Osama ibn Zayd. And this was to fight against the Byzantine Empire. Right? So that's one. So basically you had expansionist wars. The second thing you had was the fighting against people who were apostates, people who were payment profitable, and people who were preventing zakat. So put that under one category. So basically fighting internally in the Arabian Peninsula in order to make sure that it is unified. And the third one is putting together the Quran into one copy. Alright, putting together the Quran into one copy. So these were the main events. So it's not like Abu Bakr Siddiq said, okay, it's like Abu Bakr Siddiq became the Caliph, or became the Khalifa, and everything was fine. Right? When God spoke about the ayah, if it is that he dies or he is killed, that he will go back on their heels. 1, 2, 3, went back on their heels. But Musaylama was there before the time was there before, during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was a done payment prophet. So he was there already, making his mischief. Power is a very, how to say, addictive thing. So he claims to be a prophet, he has followers, he has strength, he has a military. I want him to be a prophet too. And their followers and strength and a military as well. Right? And then you had some people who literally used this around the people Zakat. And then you had people who just generally left the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they attached their religion to the person, not to the message that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent with. Like all the Christians, they attach their religion to the person of Isa alayhi salam, not to the message of Isa alayhi salam. Right. So, as clarified in Sahih al-Bukhari, the first thing Abu Bakr as-Siddiq did was to fulfill the order of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to send Osama ibn Zayd with soldiers to fight the Byzantine Empire, the Eastern Roman Empire. Now, Osama ibn Zayd was 17 years old. 17 years old. But 17 years old was easy to do that. Playing video game, chasing girls, right? Watching anime, wearing gown, all kind of craziness. This man, well, this was under the order of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So at 17 years old, he is leading a newly formed, or not his word empire, but he is leading a newly formed powerful entity to fight against one of the most powerful empires that have existed for over 1,000 years. At 17 years old. And he was victorious. Now, this was done, although there was the threat of apostasy from some of the Arab tribes. Some of the people, of course, they refused to pay zakah, and there was Musaylama, who had a lot of followers. Right? Musaylama was a big threat, he was not to be underestimated. To this Abu Bakr Siddiq, he said, for a bird to grasp me, is more belong to me than to begin with something before the order of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, basically, he had to spread his troops throughout. So, and this is a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had to send troops to fight the Roman Empire, later on to fight the Persian Empire, and to quell any kind of uprising within Arabia. So before he tried to quell any uprising in Arabia, the first thing he did was to go and put it to the order of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? And he sent him out at 17 years old. Because people were like, we have this going on and that going on. He said, no. That's a bird grasps me, takes me, and throw me somewhere in the air, that I do for the order of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is how firm Abu Bakr Siddiq was. You don't realize how firm this man was. Even when everybody else was saying something, he was stand firm on what on the Quran and the Sunnah. And we saw it when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam died. We saw it so far in the tent in Saqifa, where it is that we said that this issue of Khilafah is to be with the Quraysh. And we are seeing it here, where it is that he puts forward what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered before anything else. Right? This is what he was subhanAllah. Right, so we move on. And this is although there was big internal threats, now usually with a military leader, they would get rid of internal threats before they deal with the external. Right? They would deal with internal threats before they deal with the external threats. Right? And I'll give an example, for example, with Napoleon in France. Before he wanted to go on, try to conquer at the time, he basically dealt with internal threats. He got rid of the Jacobin government and whatnot, and he established his own thing. Right? And same thing with Adolf Hitler. He got rid of the internal threats in Germany, the communists, and whoever else, and his being internal threat was the Jews. Right? And from there, once he was able to get rid of them, he went on the expansion campaign, right? Which caused World War II, right? Anyway, So the first thing he did was fight after he sent the Jaish or the platoon or the battalion of Osama to Israel. He was about to fight those who prevented the zakat. So what he did with the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam became widespread. Many tribes with the Arabs left Islam and prevented the zakat. So after a discussion when Umar ibn Khattab tried to persuade Abu Bakr to abandon those who prevented the zakat, because he was written in a hadith where it is that Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, "Umirtu an uqatila an-nas hatta yashhadu an la ilaha illallah." That I was ordered to fight the people until they say la ilaha illallah. So Abu Bakr Siddiq was showing him that the zakat is the right of money that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has upon the people. And he said that I will fight those who make a difference between the salah and zakat, meaning that it is the haq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding money. And the salah, of course, is the haq of Allah, or the right of Allah in terms of ibadah. And then he said, if it is that they were to prevent from me a robe that they used to give to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I would fight them on this. So even though Umar ibn Khattab was trying to persuade them otherwise, he stood firm at that time, and he was totally correct. So in Jumada al-Akhir, Abu Bakr sent Khalid ibn Walid, and you will see his name appear plenty in the history of the Khulafa. And plenty people, a lot of historians, they now look and explore his biography. He is the only general who was never ever defeated in battle. Never defeated in one battle. You usually find great generals, they defeated in one or two battles, but there were most of them. But he was never defeated in any battle. Alright, so he is the greatest general of all time. Okay? So, in Jumada al-Akhir, he sent Khalid ibn Walid with a battalion, and they fought Bani Qatafan and Bani Asad. And the Muslims were victorious, and many of those who apostated returned to al-Islam. Okay? So it shows us that even if people apostate, if they return to Islam, we have nothing upon them. Right? And in this case, what it is that Khalid ibn Walid was sent, whoever got killed, they got killed, etc. like that, but at the same time, those who returned to Islam, they were accepted back into the fold of Islam. Huh? So then you have the fighting against Musaylama al-Kadhdhab, who claimed to be a prophet. Right, who claimed to be a prophet. And he was from a village called Yamama. Right? Now Khalid ibn Walid again. So Khalid ibn Walid fought to Bani Asad and Bani Qatafan. So now he's going back and he's going to Yamama. Subhanallah. So Khalid ibn Walid and the troops then went to Yamama to fight Musaylama al-Kadhdhab. And this was in the last part of the year 11 AH. So these conflicts happened early in the Caliphate of Abu Bakr. Very early. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam dies. He takes over. He sends Osama ibn Zayd. And now he has to deal with miscreants inside the Arabian Peninsula. Right? So Khalid ibn Walid, he goes and fights Musaylama after he dealt with Bani Asad and Bani Qatafan. This was in the last part of the year 11 AH. And Musaylama al-Kadhdhab was killed by Wahshi radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Now reports say it was his steel spear he killed Hamza with. Because we know that when the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and this happens to human beings at the end of the day. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when Wahshi became a Muslim, he came by the Prophet and said, "This is what this is." Not that he hated Wahshi, not that he hated that he became a Muslim, but if he saw him, it would remind him of his own. So you have to understand that you don't use like human beings or or something. So it is hard to always hard, like in terms of watching, it is hard to always wanted a way to make up for killing the prophet's uncle, right? And what happens is that in the battle of Yamama, what is his name? Barad, as I don't know, I can't remember his name exactly. Right? Now, Musaylama had tens of thousands of troops. Right? So Musaylama wasn't to be underestimated. Tens of thousands of people ready to defend Musaylama. And they had to find out over the walls of Yamama. And I believe his name was Barad ibn Malik. He told the Sahaba to send him over the wall, right? To basically put him over the wall so he would climb over, kill the guards, and open the door. And when he opened the door, he wasn't going to be able to take over that particular castle where it is. That Musaylama and many of his troops were. And they were able to deal with tens of thousands of them with only probably a few thousand troops. And what happened is that Washi saw Musaylama and then he threw a spear, and then Musaylama, as soon as he took him, Musaylama got struck, and one of the other Sahaba, Abu Dujana, he took his head off. And that was over for Musaylama and Canada. Now it's reported when he Sahaba that in the day of Yamama, as we will see later on, the importance of the Battle of Yamama, right? In terms of the Caliphate of Abu Bakr city, right? As a whole, many of them were for the Quran. Many of them can rise the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is said of Allah that Musaylama was 150 years old when he left. Okay? Now, I mean, some of these reports you have to check it out. And you have to kind of look through them. Like, for example, there are some reports that say that Salman al-Farsi was over 200 years old. He might be Allah, right? But he was old. Right. So basically, so you have the ones who prevented the zakah, they are done. Musaylama, done. Right? So, in pedestrian, it's done yet. So this is the map of Yamama. So this is Medina, this would be Makkah, and all here would be Yamama. Alright? All there would be Yamama in a city. And as I said, Musaylama had a lot of power, he wasn't to be underestimated. The fact that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam doesn't fight him before he died, it shows that. Right? But at the time of Abu Bakr, it was the time to deal with him. Because or else it would have caused disunity and conflict amongst the Muslims. Alright. Now, we are the people of apostasy now. So the following people defeated in these war. So the people of Bahrain, they apostated. You know where Bahrain is? Right? Bahrain is the same country we took it to the 26. I said country and one this last 40 go they take chairs and curtains. I don't know if you remember that. They take chairs and curtains and they start and stuff like that. Yeah. That's in Bahrain, right? So the people of Bahrain were defeated by Allah ibn Hadrami's battalion. Now they were from those who apostated. Likewise, the people of Oman. Oman is next to Yemen. Right? So you have Bahrain and you have Oman. They are more in Eastern Arabia. Right? Were defeated by Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl's battalion. Ikrimah is son of Abu Jahl. So Ikrimah, who was the son of possibly the greatest enemy of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he became a Muslim. And he led battalions against the kuffar. So you never know when the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could come. Right? The people of Nujair were defeated by Abi Umayyah. And Ziyad ibn Nabi al-Ansari was sent to defeat a group of apostates as well. So you had groups of apostates. Now, why did this happen? Now, one thing about people who are apostate from Islam is not that they remain quiet, so they sit in a corner and they just, they just leave Islam. They tend to be very hostile to Islam afterwards, and they seek to have war against Islam. This is why that they had to be subdued once and for all, and they had to be dealt with. Or else they would have had this unity, it would have had, people would have been discouraged from Islam, etc. Now, and Pentecost was basically in order to consolidate power amongst themselves. It wasn't really that they believed in purpose or why they were serving was the messenger. Alright, foreign expeditions. Expansion. Expeditions is not the best word for it. So after Hajj in the year 13 AH, I'm going to remind you, it's actually finishes. Right? After Hajj in the year 13, after the Hijrah, Abu Bakr sent Amr ibn As to the Levant, that is where Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan is. When there was the Battle of Ajnadin, which ended in victory for the Muslims. Now, basically, that would have been against the Byzantine Empire. Okay, that would have been against the Byzantine Empire in particular. And there was the Battle of Najd as-Sufr, where the Byzantine army was defeated as well. So they were able, Byzantine, let's use that loosely, Israeli Eastern Empire. So they were able to actually, with all of what going on, so they had to deal with people who don't pay zakat. Then they had to deal with people who are apostate. Then they had to deal with Musaylama or Megan. And then they had to deal with the Empire. You know what you can find along the star. So they had to do it for Islam and to make sure that the Muslims were safe, because they had to realize that the Byzantine Empire and the Persian Empire were not empires that would give you flowers and roses that would be very nice to you. They were expansionist empires. And much like how America is. America, with all the preaching of freedom, democracy, blah, 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 blah. Same thing with England, long ago. They are expansionists for America right now, because Britannia don't rule everything right now, but England, the United States of America is expansionist empire at the end of the day. And so were the Byzantines. They were an expansionist empire, and they were looking to safeguard their interests in the Arabian Peninsula and outside of that. Likewise, the Persian Empire were looking to safeguard, as expansive empire as well, were looking to safeguard their interests in the Arabian Peninsula. And Islam spreading wasn't of interest to them. It was against their interests actually, okay? So basically what happened is that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq took the fight to them instead of them taking the fight to the Arabian Peninsula. Although it is that the resources of the Muslims would have been less. Okay, the bringing of the Quran together into one. Now this requires some speaking about, because what happens is that a lot of people who are Orientalists, they try to speak out ill of the Quran and try to say that it's a false document, it's a false document, and all these other lies that the Christian. So, remember we mentioned Yamama with Martha, with Musaylama, Kadram, and all these people, right? Now, with the Battle of Yamama, many memorizers of the Quran, they perished. Many of the Kuffar, they perished, they died. Okay? Fighting for Islam. So, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, looking at this, he was very afraid that the Quran would disappear. He was very afraid of that. Because so much Kuffar died. If it is that you have who follow the Quran fighting because the time empire fighting here and fighting there. Then if they disappear the book of Allah, you will have the book of Allah again. So Abu Bakr Siddiq, he had the initiative to put together the Quran into one place. And after discussion with Umar ibn Khattab, where after he had a discussion with Umar ibn Khattab, where he convinced Umar of the benefits of that project. So what happened is that Umar ibn Khattab, he said that it is something that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't do it. So why do it? And then Umar ibn Khattab, he said that Abu Bakr Siddiq kept on telling me over again until my heart was content. I took it together in one place. So that was the first, that was the discussion between Umar ibn Khattab and Abu Bakr Siddiq. And it's only the Jesus of Abu Bakr. See the Mus'haf that we have now, and this from Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So Abu Bakr appointed Zayd ibn Thabit, and he was a youth again. He was very young, he was about in his 20s, telling him to follow up the Quran and put it together. Okay, so how did he put it together? Zayd ibn Thabit put together the Quran using what was written on parchment, stones, bones, etc., and from what was memorized from the hearts of men. So you have oral and you have written presentation come together. Understood? So there was no way that the Quran could have been fabricated or anything added to the Quran which is not from it. Understood? This is something that we have to look at. Because number one, the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum, you have people who used to write the Quran, that's it, the scribes. Like Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Muawiyah, and Zayd ibn Thabit. So they would write certain verses of the Quran. That's number one. Number two, many of the Sahaba, they memorized the Quran. So they memorized the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on top of the fact that it was written by the Sahaba, right? When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was written by some Sahaba, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive. In addition to this, many of the Sahaba didn't memorize the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have oral preservation and you have written preservation. And what happens is that the condition that was put by Zayd ibn Thabit was that if it is memorized, you have to have at least two people who bear witness of that particular ayah. In that case, I can be saved. Right? So once it is that they found that two people recently saved me and if it was written, then they will put it. Okay? So this shows that the Quran with the oral as well as the written preservation, there's no way anything of human evidence or otherwise could have entered into it. There's no way. Oh, if it is that I was to ask everybody here to recite Surah Fatiha, everybody here will recite Surah Fatiha. If I was to ask everybody here to recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu Birabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun, everybody will be able to recite it. Understood? If it is that I was to ask people to recite this Amma, I can take about 4 or 5 of us to be able to recite the whole juz. That's all. From this Mashiach itself. Right? And in other Masajid in Trinidad, the same. So it shows in itself, if it is that we in a country that is a country where it's from the level of the country of Kufr, right? We have so much people who memorize parts of the Quran. And we have so many people who memorize significant portions of the Quran as well. Then in the case of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, who don't have the phones, who don't have the distractions, who don't have this, who don't have that. In their case, it would have been easier for them to memorize the Quran, who are better memories as well, because this is based everything upon memorization. Because they were not people who were as literate in terms of reading and writing. So that is the way of memorizing the Quran. In the case of, as you would see, like in terms of what it is that the hero arts became popular, the hero art of certain imams became popular. Many of them have over 5,000 students. Many of these imams have over 5,000 students in the hard class. Right? Memorizing the whole Quran. So if you ask him all of them and all every time we say with them, it's not to be prison. No lots of it. Right? So the Quran has both oral and written preservation. And in fact, a lot of Orientalists, a lot of people who are Western academics, they say that the Quran is the most preserved book out of any other book in the world. It's the most preserved book out of any other book in the world, even up to this day. SubhanAllah. And this is a miracle from Allah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. That verily we are the one who sent the remembrance, and verily we are the one who will safeguard it. You know, and a guy did an experiment of sorts. He did an experiment. He went to Christians and asked them, well, tell me some verses of the Bible. Only probably over 2 or 3. He tell me some verses. He wants a Muslims, tell me some verses of the Quran. All of them were able to tell him something. It was a man said Surah from Surah Baqarah, and I quoted from Surah Taha, I quoted from Surah Najm, and I said, the book is preserved, Najm. Right? No doubt about it. Right? So, Zayd ibn Thabit, he basically used what was written, right? And whatever he could gather from what was written, and also he used the recitation of the Quran to put that Quran together into one copy. So the Mus'haf, which Abu Bakr put together, was written until he radiallahu ta'ala anhu died. Then it went with Umar, then with the daughter of Umar, who was Hafsa radiallahu ta'ala anha. Okay? And inshallah ta'ala, when it says that we reach the Caliphate of Islam, we will clarify the reasons why it is that it was written in a certain script, etc. Right?
For this Zayd ibn Thabit, that is the same adopted son of the Rasul.
Zayd ibn Thabit.
And the other adopted son is Zayd?
Yes, Zayd ibn Thabit, correct. The Zayd ibn Thabit? Zayd ibn Haritha is the adopted son, correct. Zayd ibn Thabit is somebody else. That's what I was saying. And Zayd ibn Haritha is the adopted son. That's what I was thinking. So Zayd ibn Haritha is the adopted son of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As for Zayd ibn Thabit, he was a scribe of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sorry. So other events of his caliphate, alhamdulillah, we able to finish them to be a short, but we actually finish it. Right. So he gave the word of Mahri to those who the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam promised to give it to. This is the out of integrity this man has. Prophet said, okay, if I have the word from Mahri, I will give it to so and so person, so and so person, so and so person, so and so person. And when Abu Bakr Siddiq got that word, he gave it to the exact persons. That is the amount of integrity we have. He also led the people in Hajj during his Khilafah after delegating Umar ibn Khattab to lead the Hajj. So the first Hajj in his Khilafah was in Umar ibn Khattab, and the second Hajj, which was his Hajj, he did it himself. At that time, the Khalifa used to lead the Hajj at that time. Alright? Third matter, after consultation with Abu Rahman ibn Auf, Rahman ibn Affan, Zayd was said in the Quran, and other than that, Umar ibn Khattab was selected to be the Khalifa. This happened before Abu Bakr Siddiq died. So as I said, the Khalifa could be pointed out by the previous Khalifa, or he could be selected via mutual consultation. So Umar ibn Khattab was selected before Abu Bakr Siddiq actually died. So Abu Bakr Siddiq died on Tuesday 22nd Jumada al-Akhir in the year 13 after the Hijrah. He died of a fever after being on a whole day. And some say that he died because he was saddened because of his best friend, who's the Rasul. Some Arabians say that as well, that he was still saddened by the letter of Rasul. You know, that's why he died so early. I call Fatima and that was something very better than Father. Right? As per request, he was buried next to the Messenger of Allah, and his grave is right there. It's still present, although it is that the 60th of fellowship and everything else. That's still happening. Alright, so alhamdulillah, we finished the Khilafah of Abu Bakr Siddiq in a nutshell. Alright, are there any questions? Yeah, it is.
When he was not died, how long after he get buried?
It was a bunch of questions. It was a it was missing. It was a few weeks. But I was like, oh, it was a couple of 2 or 3 weeks.
What I pick up with Abu Bakr Umar when he was discussing the Quran and whatnot, it shows that Umar and the other companions were so afraid of committing innovation
Exactly.
that something as important as that was hesitant. And nowadays, everybody running into everything and saying this and that and this and straight into innovation, they go into and they study the consequences.
Correct. Well, that's very good. Yeah, but that's in the case of, as I said, with Umar ibn Khattab, he was extremely frightened to even step into innovation. Right? But of course, maybe according to one mishap, it's not an innovation, of course, but what happened, he was so frightened of it to do something that he was so I was extremely cautious. But Abu Bakr as Siddiq showed that this is for the good of the Muslims. It's called, in Sharia, it's called Maslahatul Mursal. In other words, is something that brings about some type of benefit for the Muslims. And it doesn't affect the ibadah in and of itself. So putting the Quran into one volume, it does not affect the ibadah in this or anything like that. So in that case, it wouldn't be innovation. For example, calling the alarm and the mic, and these kind of things are considered as innovation. But some people, they come and say, well, the fan, the air condition, the car, the microphone, all of the innovation. Right? And then, yes, it's innovation in terms of the dunya. Innovate how much you want. That's something. Innovate how much you want in the dunya. Use computer, use car, use fan, use microphone, use use whatever in this dunya. No problem, you can innovate how much you want. But in the religion, that Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Kullu bid'atin dalalah." Every single innovation is misguided. Full stop. He said, "Kullu," everyone. So it has no good bid'ah in terms of religion, in terms of ibadah, in terms of worship. So having such thing as good bid'ah and bad bid'ah, all bid'ah bad, right? But if you're talking about innovation in the dunya, then innovate how much you want. No problem. So that's why when I tell them about all this is innovation, I say yes, alhamdulillah, innovate how much you want so much. But as dunya, that doesn't refer to religion. Because the probation has to be in the ibadah itself. In the ibadah. So it has to have to do with your salah, your fasting, you know, any kind of absolution. That is what the probation involves itself in, which is haram. As for and these cases, for example, where the Musaf was put into one place where it is that, and as we were saying, that people could be behind one imam away. That these things are not innovations. These are not innovations at all. But rather, these bring about benefit to the Muslims, but it doesn't affect the ibadah or the worship in and of itself. Any other questions?
You mentioned Abu Bakr was the first tax of Islam, but we
Yes.
heard that Khadija was the first.
Well, I mean, first man.
Oh,
Right. He was the first man to accept. So, yeah, of course, Khadija was the first ever because she was the one who actually people would say, argue that Waraka was the first. Because he's the first to acknowledge his messengership. And then Khadija was the other one. And while so the name people said Waraka, Khadija, then it would be Abu Bakr, and who the future would be Ali. And the first of the same would be Zayd ibn Haritha. Anything else? So if it goes over, huh? Alright, sorry, next week, I will not be able to come, unfortunately, because I have to do something with my son. He have nationals in terms of hockey, so I have to drop it back from what I speak. So, inshallah, will be happening the week after.